Have you ever found yourself wondering about someone's true nature? Maybe it's a coworker who seems too good to be true, a friend whose loyalty you're unsure of, or even a relative who leaves you feeling uneasy. I've been there too, many times, and I can tell you, it's not always easy to see someone's true colors right away. But let me ask you this: how many of life's toughest lessons have come from trusting the wrong people? It's heartbreaking to invest time and energy into someone, only to realize later that they were never who you thought they were. Now here's the good news. There are clear signs that reveal a person's character, if you know where to look. Today, I'll share 6 powerful signs that help you instantly understand someone's true colors. These aren't just random tips. They're lessons I've learned from decades of experience and countless stories from others who've walked this journey. So grab a pen and paper. Trust me, you're going to want to take notes because these 6 signs could save you from heartache and help you build better, more authentic connections. And hey, if you're on YouTube, just click the Save button below this video. You'll want to revisit this wisdom later. Let's dive in. Let me share something personal with you. Over my 80 years, I've come to believe that the people we surround ourselves with define so much of our happiness, our success, and even our peace of mind. Think about it. How many times have you walked away from a relationship or an interaction feeling drained, questioning what just happened? It's like carrying invisible baggage you didn't even realize you were picking up. In my earlier years, I was far too trusting. I believed people were who they presented themselves to be. But life, as you know, has a way of teaching lessons we didn't ask for. Through betrayals, broken promises, and surprising kindness from unexpected places, I learned to see beyond the surface. What I'm about to share with you today isn't something you'll find in a psychology textbook or a self-help guide. These 6 signs I'll walk you through come straight from life, both mine and the stories of countless others I've spoken to over the years. These are the things that separate the genuine from the fake, the kind-hearted from the manipulative, and the trustworthy from the deceitful. You see, people don't always reveal their true selves right away. Sometimes it takes weeks, months, or even years. But these signs, if you watch carefully, can help you see through the facade much faster. They're like a flashlight in the dark, guiding you to the truth. And let me be clear, this isn't about judging others or being cynical. It's about protecting your energy, your time, and your peace. It's about surrounding yourself with people who lift you up, not weigh you down. By the end of this video, you'll have the tools to read people with clarity and make decisions that truly serve you. Now, before we dive in, let me remind you, every one of us has flaws. No one is perfect. But when certain patterns appear, they tell a deeper story about a person's character. So let's get into the 6 signs to look out for. You might just see someone in a completely new light. One of the truest tests of character isn't how someone treats their equals or those above them. It's how they treat those who have no power over them. I've seen this play out time and time again in my life. It's in the way someone talks to a waiter at a diner, greets the janitor at the office, or interacts with someone they believe can't offer them anything in return. Let me share a story. Years ago, I worked with a man named Henry. On the surface, Henry was the picture of success: sharp suits, expensive watches, always the center of attention. But I noticed something odd about him. When the CEO was in the room, Henry was polite, attentive, and downright charming. But the moment the maintenance guy walked in, Henry wouldn't even acknowledge his presence. In fact, he often spoke rudely to him, as if the man didn't matter. Fast forward a few years, and Henry's fortune took a turn. The company restructured, and Henry found himself out of a job. The same people he had dismissed, people like that maintenance worker, were the ones who had the connections to help him get back on his feet. But none of them did. And I think you can guess why. You see, How someone treats people who are in no position to help them reveals everything about their character. True kindness doesn't look for rewards. It doesn't measure whether a person is worth the effort. It's a reflection of a person's integrity, plain and simple. Let me tell you why this sign matters. Here's the thing. Life is unpredictable. Power dynamics shift, and the people we once overlooked might someday hold the key to opportunities we desperately need. Beyond that, treating everyone with respect, regardless of their status, creates an atmosphere of goodwill. And trust me, goodwill is one of the most valuable things you can carry through life. Here is a practical tip. The next time you're out and about, watch how the people around you interact with others, especially those in service roles. Do they smile and say thank you? Do they make eye contact and treat them as equals? Better yet, reflect on your own behavior. When was the last time you genuinely thanked someone for a small act of service, like bagging your groceries or holding the door open? This sign isn't about perfection, it's about patterns. When someone consistently shows kindness to those who can't benefit them, you're looking at someone with genuine character. On the flip side, if someone dismisses or belittles others based on status, that's a big red flag. There's an old saying that goes, "You don't truly know someone until they're under pressure." But I'd like to take it a step further. You don't truly know someone until you've seen how they handle criticism. How a person reacts to feedback, especially when it's not sugar-coated, speaks volumes about their maturity and character. Let me paint you a picture. Years ago, I was working on a community project with a man named Greg. Greg was the kind of guy who liked to be in charge, confident, self-assured, and always ready with a plan. But one day, during a group meeting, someone pointed out a major flaw in one of Greg's ideas. Instead of considering the critique, Greg became defensive, raised his voice, and spent the next 10 minutes tearing down the person who had dared to challenge him. It was uncomfortable, to say the least. But what stuck with me wasn't Greg's defensiveness. It was the way the rest of the group reacted. People stopped giving him feedback altogether. And without feedback, Greg's ideas went unchecked. The project suffered, and so did Greg's reputation. Let me tell you why this sign matters. Criticism isn't easy to hear. It pricks at our pride and forces us to confront the possibility that we might not have all the answers. But here's the thing. Constructive criticism is a gift. It's how we grow, how we improve, and how we build stronger relationships. A person who can accept criticism gracefully, without lashing out or shutting down, is someone who values growth over ego. On the other hand, someone who reacts poorly to criticism, by becoming defensive, dismissive, or even vindictive, creates a toxic environment. These are the people who will blame others for their failures and refuse to take accountability. Over time, their inability to accept feedback becomes their greatest weakness. Vuestros do. Here is a practical example. Let me share another story. A friend of mine, Linda, runs a small bakery. Early on, when she was just starting out, a customer left a review saying her cupcakes were too dry. Now, Linda could have ignored the comment or written it off as an unfair critique. But instead, she took it to heart. She started experimenting with her recipes, testing different techniques until she got it just right. A few months later, that same customer came back. They told Linda they'd noticed the improvement and that her cupcakes were now the best in town. That single piece of criticism not only helped Linda grow, it helped her build trust and loyalty with her customers. Here is a practical tip, pay attention. to how people react when you gently challenge them or offer constructive feedback. Do they take a moment to process your words, or do they immediately go on the defensive? Do they thank you for your honesty, or do they make excuses? And here's a challenge for you. The next time someone offers you criticism, resist the urge to react right away. Take a deep breath, say thank you, and give yourself time to reflect. You might be surprised at how much you can learn, not just about yourself, but about the person offering the feedback. Nien. Someone who can handle criticism with grace and humility is someone you want in your corner. Because if they're willing to listen and grow, they'll bring that same openness to every area of their life, and yours. Reliability is one of the most telling signs of a person's character. Think about the people you trust the most. Aren't they the ones who show up when they say they will, who follow through on promises, and who treat your time and energy with respect? On the flip side, someone who is habitually unreliable sends a clear message. They don't value commitments, and by extension, they might not value you. Unreliability doesn't always show up in grand gestures. Often, it's in the small, consistent behaviors that it becomes evident. For instance, they might habitually cancel plans at the last minute, leaving you scrambling to adjust. Or, they might promise to help with something important, but fail to deliver without any communication or explanation. A classic scenario is at work. Picture someone who eagerly volunteers for a project during a meeting, but when deadlines approach, they vanish, leaving everyone else to pick up the slack. In personal relationships, it could be a friend who promises to show up for a significant life event, only to forget or bail out with a flimsy excuse. Then, there's the pattern of unfulfilled promises. This could be as simple as a repeated failure to return borrowed items, or as significant as not showing up during moments of need. Over time, these behaviors erode trust and create resentment. Who? Mom. Unreliability might seem like a minor flaw, but it has profound impacts. For one, it signals a lack of respect, not just for time and commitments, but for the people on the receiving end. When someone is unreliable, they indirectly communicate that their priorities outweigh yours, regardless of the context. Unreliability also creates instability. When you can't count on someone, it forces you to expend extra emotional and logistical energy, always planning for contingencies. This can lead to stress and strain in relationships, as the dynamic becomes less about mutual support and more about compensating for the other person's shortcomings. Let me tell you why people are unreliable. Understanding why someone behaves this way is crucial to addressing it effectively. For some, unreliability stems from overcommitting, wanting to please everyone but lacking the resources or discipline to follow through. Others might use unreliability as a control tactic, knowing their unpredictability keeps others off balance and dependent. In some cases, it's a reflection of deeper issues such as poor time management, lack of self-awareness, or even emotional detachment. Whatever the reason, consistent unreliability reveals a character trait that demands attention, especially if it affects you regularly. Here is how to handle unreliable people. Dealing with unreliability requires a mix of understanding, boundaries, and action. Start by addressing the behavior directly but empathetically. For example, you could say, "I've noticed that plans often fall through when we make them. Is there something preventing you from committing, or can we find a better way to manage expectations?" Set clear boundaries to protect your time and energy. If someone repeatedly cancels plans, establish a 3-strike rule for scheduling. If a coworker drops the ball on projects, document their commitments and follow up in writing to create accountability. In personal relationships, decide how much you're willing to tolerate. While everyone deserves grace for occasional missteps, chronic unreliability is a red flag that might require reevaluating the relationship's role in your life. Let me tell you why this matters. Recognizing unreliability helps you make informed decisions about the relationships you invest in. By prioritizing people who follow through, you create a circle of trust and dependability, one that uplifts rather than drains you. At the same time, addressing this behavior in others fosters growth and accountability, paving the way for healthier connections. Ultimately, the people who deserve your time and energy are the ones who value it enough to show up, keep their word, and respect the commitments they make. Let this sign guide you as we continue exploring what truly reveals someone's character. One of the clearest ways to uncover someone's true nature is by observing how they handle constructive criticism. Criticism, when given respectfully, is a tool for growth and self-improvement. However, not everyone takes it with the humility and grace that it deserves. Think about it. Have you ever given someone gentle feedback, only to watch them explode, become defensive, or turn the situation back on you? It's a glaring red flag when someone cannot accept even the most well-intentioned critique. On the flip side, those who accept feedback with curiosity and self-awareness often exhibit emotional intelligence and maturity. Let me tell you a personal story. I'll never forget an experience I had with two colleagues during my consulting years. There was Mark, who was always eager to learn, and Dave, who was notoriously sensitive to any form of critique. One day, during a team meeting, I suggested to Dave that we rework part of his presentation to better fit the client's needs. What followed was shocking. Dave turned red, crossed his arms, and fired back with, "Well, maybe if someone had given me clearer instructions, I wouldn't have made that mistake." The room went silent. Now compare that to Mark. On a similar occasion, I gave him feedback about the structure of his proposal. Mark didn't flinch. Instead, he said, "That's a great point. What would you suggest to make it better?" His willingness to embrace criticism not only earned him respect, but also improved the outcome of his work. Let me tell you why this sign matters. People who can't handle constructive criticism often have fragile egos or unresolved insecurities. They perceive feedback as a personal attack rather than an opportunity to grow. This behavior can create tension in relationships, workplaces, and even friendships, as their defensiveness can stifle communication and trust. On the other hand, emotionally secure individuals welcome constructive criticism as a chance to refine themselves. They understand that feedback isn't a reflection of their worth, but a pathway to improvement. This mindset speaks volumes about their maturity and character. Here is a practical insight. The next time you observe someone receiving feedback, watch their reaction closely. Do they listen, ask clarifying questions, and thank the person offering guidance? Or do they roll their eyes, make excuses, or even lash out? For example, imagine a friend who asks for your opinion on their cooking. If you gently say, "It's good, but maybe it needs a little more seasoning," how do they respond? Someone who values growth will appreciate your honesty. But someone who's unwilling to accept even minor critique might sulk, make excuses, or even snap back. Let me tell you what this reveals about character. When someone is open to feedback, it shows they're secure enough to acknowledge they're not perfect, and that's okay. This humility often correlates with stronger relationships, better problem-solving skills, and a greater capacity for empathy. On the contrary, those who react negatively to constructive criticism are often closed off to self-reflection and personal growth, making them challenging to trust or work with. Here is a timeless quote: As Aristotle said, criticism is something we can avoid easily by saying nothing, doing nothing, and being nothing. People who avoid or reject feedback often miss out on opportunities to improve, both in their personal and professional lives. Those who embrace it, however, demonstrate resilience and a genuine desire to evolve. Here's the reflection. If you want to uncover someone's true nature, pay attention to their behavior when they're gently corrected. Their response can reveal whether they're open-minded and secure or defensive and self-centered. Ultimately, those who welcome feedback tend to have stronger relationships and a more fulfilling life because they prioritize growth over pride. Have you ever noticed someone who's always ready to dismiss other people's opinions, accomplishments, or experiences? This behavior might seem like arrogance or overconfidence on the surface, but it's often a mask for insecurity or an attempt to elevate themselves by tearing others down. Spotting this trait is a vital clue to uncovering someone's true colors. Let's discuss how it manifests. Imagine you're in a group conversation and someone mentions a recent promotion or personal achievement. Instead of celebrating or acknowledging it, this person interjects with comments like, "Well, that's not a big deal," or "Anyone could have done that." Such remarks aren't just rude. They're a deliberate effort to downplay others and shift the focus. This behavior extends beyond accomplishments. Consider someone who constantly undermines ideas in discussions, responding with, "That won't work," or "I've seen better." While constructive criticism is valuable, these comments lack depth or substance. They're not aimed at improving the idea, but at invalidating the person behind it. Another common example is when someone dismisses personal experiences. If a friend shares a story about overcoming a challenge, a discrediting person might say, "That's nothing compared to what I've been through," turning the moment into a competition rather than a connection. This constant invalidation leaves others feeling small and unheard. Here is the psychology behind it. Why would someone discredit others so often? This behavior often stems from deep-seated insecurities. When people struggle with their self-worth, they may feel threatened by others' successes or perspectives. By tearing others down, they attempt to level the playing field, or even tip it in their favor. In some cases, this habit reflects a fear of vulnerability. Acknowledging someone else's strengths or achievements requires humility and openness. For those who see the world as a constant competition, vulnerability feels like a weakness they can't afford. Let me tell you, what's the impact of discrediting others? This behavior can poison relationships and group dynamics. In personal relationships, it fosters resentment and mistrust. People feel unvalued and discouraged, often leading to distance or even conflict. In a professional setting, it can stifle creativity and collaboration. Imagine a team where every idea is met with dismissal. Over time, people stop sharing altogether, fearing ridicule or rejection. The result is a stagnant environment where growth and innovation are impossible. On an individual level, being around someone who constantly discredits others can erode your confidence. You might start second-guessing your achievements or suppressing your opinions, wondering if they really matter. This is why it's essential to recognize this sign early and address it appropriately. Let me tell you how to recognize such person. To spot this behavior, pay attention to patterns. A person who discredits others will frequently interrupt conversations to insert dismissive or negative comments. He will downplay others' achievements while exaggerating their own. He will refuse to acknowledge valid points, instead steering the conversation to highlight their superiority. He He will show consistent reluctance to praise or support others. These patterns become even more telling when you notice them across different situations and with various people. Here's how to respond. Addressing this behavior requires a balanced approach. Here's how you can handle it. 1. Don't take it personally. Remember, their behavior says more about them than about you. Their insecurity is not your burden to carry. 2. Counter with calm confidence. If someone dismisses your idea, respond assertively. For example, I see your perspective, but I believe this idea has merit because this shifts the focus back to the topic without escalating conflict. 3. Encourage positivity. Highlighting positive behaviors can subtly encourage change. For instance, you might say, I really appreciate it when we celebrate each other's successes. It creates a great environment. 4. Set boundaries. If their behavior becomes toxic, don't hesitate to distance yourself. Protecting your mental and emotional well-being is more important than enduring a one-sided dynamic. Let me tell you why it matters. The ability to recognize this sign empowers you to navigate relationships more wisely. By identifying and addressing behaviors that undermine others, you foster healthier interactions and environments. Moreover, refusing to engage with discrediting remarks reinforces your confidence and integrity. As we move forward, let's explore another sign that reveals someone's true nature. You'll find that these signs not only help you understand others, but also inspire you to reflect on your own behaviors and grow as an individual. A person's true colors often come out when they're faced with challenges, whether it's a sudden setback, unexpected bad news, or a disagreement with someone close to them. Difficult situations are like a magnifying glass, revealing the traits they try to keep hidden under normal circumstances. Here is a story from life. I remember a time when a close friend, Mike, lost his job unexpectedly. It was a tough blow, and I offered to help him network for new opportunities. But instead of taking constructive steps forward, Mike lashed out at everyone around him. He blamed his former boss, his coworkers, and even his family for his bad luck. Conversations with him became draining as he focused solely on venting without taking responsibility for his part in the situation. Contrast that with another friend, Linda. She also faced job loss, but handled it with remarkable composure. Linda took the time to reflect on what she could learn from the experience, reached out to her network for advice, and remained supportive of those around her. Even in her tough time, she showed strength and grace, which only deepened my respect for her. This all. Let me tell you why. This sign matters. How people react under pressure reveals their resilience, emotional intelligence, and willingness to take accountability. Someone who falls into negativity, blame shifting, or self-pity during challenges may struggle with personal growth and relationships. These reactions often signal deeper issues, like an inability to process emotions constructively or a lack of empathy for others. On the flip side, individuals who remain calm, seek solutions, and acknowledge their role in a difficult situation demonstrate emotional maturity and a strong character. These people tend to inspire trust and respect because they handle adversity with grace and focus on moving forward. Here is a practical insight. Notice how people behave when plans fall apart or when they're under stress. For example, during a group project, does someone start pointing fingers at others when things don't go as expected? Or do they focus on finding a solution while keeping the team motivated? Another scenario might involve a sudden personal crisis, like a canceled flight or a financial hiccup. Do they take it in stride and adapt, or do they spiral into anger and frustration, making the situation harder for everyone involved? Here is what this reveals about character. People who approach difficulties with accountability and composure are often trustworthy and resilient. They understand that challenges are inevitable, and they use them as opportunities to grow. On the other hand, those who collapse under pressure, lash out, or refuse to take responsibility reveal a lack of maturity and self-awareness, which can lead to strained relationships and missed opportunities. As we age and gather wisdom through life's experiences, one of the most valuable skills we can develop is learning to see people for who they truly are. By understanding these 6 signs, you're equipping yourself with the tools to build stronger, more meaningful relationships, while also safeguarding your peace and well-being. Remember, life is too short to invest in connections that don't uplift or respect you. Instead, focus on surrounding yourself with people who are genuine, reliable, and bring positivity into your life. And as you practice recognizing these signs in others, don't forget to reflect on your own behaviors too, because we all have the potential to grow and improve. If this wisdom resonated with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Which of these signs have you experienced in your own life? Have you noticed how they've impacted your relationships? Let's learn from each other and build a community of shared wisdom. And if you're finding these insights valuable, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Your support motivates me to continue sharing knowledge and life lessons that can help us all live more fulfilling lives. Until next time, keep striving for authenticity and kindness in every connection you make.